Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti-vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pachaline Nirvishesha Shunyavani Prashatya Desha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas, Text 29, Translation Purport by the Disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Stira chara jata yaksyur ajayota nimita yujo Stira chara jata yaksyur ajayota nimita yujo Vihara udikshaya yadi parasya vimukta tataha Vihara udikshaya yadi parasya vimukta tataha Nahi paramasya kaschida paro na parascha bhayet bhavet Nahi paramasya kaschida paro na parascha bhavet Viyata iva padasya tava shunyatulam danata Viyata iva padasya tava shunyatulam danata Sthira chara jata yaksyura jayota nimita yujo Sthira chara jata yaksyura jayota nimita yujo Vihara udikshaya yadi parasya vimukta tataha Vihara udikshaya yadi parasya vimukta tataha Nahi paramasya kaschida paro na parascha bhavet Nahi paramasya kaschida paro na parascha bhavet Viyata iva padasya tava shunyatulam danata Viyata iva padasya tava shunyatulam danata Stira stationary Chara and moving Jataya species of life Syuhu become manifest Ajaya with the material energy Utha awakened Nimitta their motivations for activity and the subtle bodies activated by such. Yujaha assuming Vihara sport Udikshaya by your brief glance Yadi if Parasya of him who is aloof Vimukta or eternally liberated one Tataha from her Na not He indeed Paramasya for the Supreme Kaschit anyone Apara, not foreign. Na, nor. Para, foreign. Cha, also. Bhavet, can be. Viyataha, for the ethereal sky. Eva, as if. Aparasya, which has no perceptible qualities. Tava, for you. Shunya, to avoid. Tulam, a resemblance. Darataha, who take on. Translation. O eternally liberated transcendental Lord, your material energy causes the various moving and non-moving species of life to appear by activating their material desires, but only when and if you sport with her by briefly glancing at her. You, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, see no one as an intimate friend and no one as a stranger. Just as the ethereal sky has no connection with perceptible qualities, in this sense you resemble a void.
О вечно освободени, трансцендентални Господи, твоята материална енергия е причина за различните подвижни и неподвижни форми на живот, които изглеждат задвижени от техните материални желания. Но само когато и ако ти се забавляваш с нея, като за кратко я погледнеш, ти, Върховният Господи, не виждаш, не считаш никой за приятел, нито пък за странник. Също както небето няма връзка с сетивните качества. В този смисъл ти наподобяваш пусто.
Purport. Not only are living beings totally dependent on the all-powerful, independent Lord for their maintenance and welfare, but even the very fact of their embodied existence is due only to his exceptional mercy.
Не само, че живите същества изцяло са зависими от самокъщия независим Бог за тяхната поддръжка и благополучие, но дори самия факт на тяхното върхотено съществуване се дължи само на неговата безпричинна и на необикновена милост.
The personality of Godhead has no interest in material affairs, since he has nothing to gain from the petty pleasures of this world, and is altogether free from any contamination of envy or lust.
Личността на Бога не се интересува от материалните дейности, тъй като той няма нищо да спечели от дребнавите удоволствия на този свят и изцяло е свободен от всякакво замърсяване на завист и поход.
He is exclusively involved in confidential loving pastimes with his pure devotees in the internal realm of his spiritual energies.
Той е изцяло заед с поверителните и интимните любовни забавления със своите чисти предани в вечната реалност или обител на своите духовни енергии.
Therefore, the only reason he ever turns to the business of material creation is to help draw lost souls back into his internal circle of eternal enjoyment.
Затова единствената причина, поради която той се занимава с материалното творение, е за да помогне да се върнат обратно, изгубените души обратно в вътрешното положение на вечно наслаждение.
To attempt a life separate from the Lord, rebellious souls must be provided with suitable bodies and an illusory environment in which to act out their fantasies of independence.
За да опитат опит на живот разделен, за да опитат да живеят разделени от Бога, независимите души, поставящите се души, трябва да имат подходящи тела и иллюзорна среда, в която да действат и да извършат своето въображение на независимост.
The merciful Lord agrees to let them learn in their own way, and so he glances at Mahamaya, his energy of material creation.
Милостивият Бог се съгласява да им даде възможност да се научат по техния начин и той също и така той поглежда Махамая, неговата енергия на материалното творение.
Simply by this glance, she is awakened and makes all required arrangements on his behalf.
Просто чрез неговия поглед тя е пробудена и осигурява всичко от негово име.
She and her helpers manufacture countless varieties of gross and subtle bodies of demigods, humans, animals, and so on, along with countless situations in heavenly and hellish worlds, all just to give the conditioned souls the exact facilities they deserve and desire.
Тя и помощниците й създават безброй разнообразни груби и финни тела на полубогове, хора, животни и така нататък, заедно с безброй ситуации в райските и адските светове. Всичко това само за да имат възможност обусловените души да осъществят, да имат възможности и условия за да изпълнят своите желания и заслуги.
While the uninformed may blame God for the suffering of his creatures, a sincere student of the Vedic literature will come to appreciate the Supreme Lord's equal concern for each soul.
Докато незапознатите могат да обвиняват Бога за страданието на творението, неговите същества в творението, един искрен ученик на ведическата литература ще оцени еднаквото разположение на Бога към всяка душа, еднаква загриженост.
Since he has nothing to lose or gain, there is no reason for him to distinguish between friends and opponents.
Тъй като той няма какво да губи или да спечели, няма причина за него да прави разлика между приятели и противници.
We may choose to oppose him and make all endeavors to forget him, but he never forgets us, nor does he ever stop providing us with all our necessities along with his unseen guidance.
Може да изберем да му се противопоставим и да положим всякакви усилия за да го забравим. Той никога не ни забравя, нито пък някога ще спре да ни осигурява всичко необходимо заедно с неговата невидима насока.
Srila Srila Swami prays, Tvat ikshana vashakshova maya bodhita karmavi jatan sangsaratak kinan nihare pahina pitaha. O Father, O Lord appearing as half man, half lion, please save those who have been born into the endless cycle of birth and death. These souls are distressed by their karmic entanglement, which Maya awakened when your glance excited her to activity.
Шива Шидара Свами се моли: О, Господи, Върховни Баща, който се появява като получовек, полулъв, моля те, спаси тези, които са родени в безкрайният цикъл на раждане и смърт. Тези души страдат заради техното кармично оплитане, което Майя осигурява и се пробужда, когато ти погледнеш, когато твоят поглед я задвижи за дейност.
Stira chara jatayak syur ajayota nimitta yujo vihara udikshaya yadi parasya vimukta tataha nahi paramasya kaschit aparo na parascha bhavet Viyata iva padasya tava shunya tulam dadataha. Can you move this a little bit this way? Yeah, that's good. That's good. O eternally liberated transcendental Lord, your material energy causes the various moving and non-moving species of life to appear by activating their material desires, but only when and if you sport with her by briefly glancing at her. You, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, see no one as an intimate friend and no one as a stranger, just as the ethereal sky has no connection with perceptible qualities, In this sense, you resemble a void.
О вечно освободени трансцендентални Господи, Твоята материална енергия причинява движението или създава различните подвижни и неподвижни форми на живот, които изглеждат задвижени от техните материални желания, но само когато ти, особено ако ти се забавляваш с небето, за кратко и погледнеш ти, Върховни Господи, виждаш, не гледаш на никой като на близък приятел или странник, също както небето няма връзка с сетивните качества. В този смисъл ти не подобяваш пустота.
So some philosophers called existentialists, they blame, well, they don't even blame God because they don't believe there's anything like that, but they blame existence, the world, for existing.
Някои философи, наречени екзистенциалисти, обвиняват не Бога, защото не вярват в Бог, а света, за това, че съществува.
Which makes sense. Because generally, although some people think they are enjoying, the majority is more suffering than enjoying, and even those who are enjoying are not enjoying all the time, but also suffering sometime.
Защото дори тези, които си мислят, че се наслаждават, всъщност повечето не се наслаждават, а страдат, но дори те, които мислят, че се наслаждават, то не е за дълго, а за кратко.
So, many call it, and I will use an American vulgar expression, a shitty life.
Ще използвам един вулгарен американски израз, но те наричат този живот.
You have a Bulgarian expression for that? Probably. I can give you a German one, but I'm sure you have. In Spanish they have it because it's a universal truth. It's Dukkhalayam. The place is basically for suffering. And nobody likes it. Who likes? Who voluntarily invites suffering? Unless you're mentally deranged and even pay somebody to whip you. Which, by the advancement of Kali-yoga, also is possible. But generally, if somebody comes with a whip, you run, or you defend yourself. You don't pay for it. Or being tied up. I mean, so generally, we don't like that. But life in the material world is basically like this. We are sometimes, Prabhupada says, tied up, hands and feet. Prahlad, what is it? The tantra, the ropes of material nature, the three modes, they are called sometimes ropes, and you're bound by them. So, then those who have, or at least will argue about the existence of God, they will actually deny the existence for that very reason, that there's so much suffering. And because those who believe in God say that He is all good and all merciful and all powerful and all omniscient, so how can He allow this to happen? Well, not only allow, He is the origin of everything, so actually He is the one who made this up. Huh? And therefore, those who are existentialists and speculate and call themselves philosophers, they may come to the conclusion, I didn't even want to exist. I didn't choose to exist, so why am I existing?
И затова такива спекулативни философии като екзистенциалистите могат да стигнат до заключението: аз не искам да живея, защо трябва да съществувам?
I didn't choose to come here to France. I'm thrown into the world, and now they call me John Paul Sartre.
Съм запратен в света и сега ме наричат.
I'm famous, but I hate it.
Известен съм, но мразя това.
I don't want to be.
Изобщо не искам да бъда.
So, this is all ignorance, uninformed, as it is said here. So actually, as it is pointed out, the Shrutis in this verse, that the living entities, they have desires. And it depends on the type of desire, you end up in one place or another. So therefore, if there are material desires, then one comes into a moving or non-moving species in this world. And actually it's the mercy of the Lord who is fulfilling those desires. And actually, if the desires are purified and are going into the right direction, then there's the possibility to actually just enjoy life eternally. Anybody's cold? Can we turn it off? I mean, unless it becomes below zero, I think we can tolerate.
Came up with the phrase.
Oh. Yeah, I know. It's very intelligent. It's thinking, should I not? He forces me. All right. Some switch will go, So, yeah, I mean, actually, because we don't like suffering and we want to enjoy, good news, this is actually your nature. You don't have to suffer. The Lord, the Supreme, is Satchidananda Vigraha, and you are also Satchidananda Vigraha. And the Ananda part means it is full of pleasure. And therefore the Vedic scriptures tell us Anandamayo Bhyasat, that is the natural tendency for all living entities to search for pleasure. And if you do it, if you try to do this separately in this material environment, then that pleasure is tainted. It comes and goes. More goes than comes. But because it comes, sometimes we are waiting and hoping that the period of coming will be longer than the period of going. And those who are really ignorant, they think they can make arrangements so it will stay forever. But this will never happen, so therefore, yes, the material world, ultimately, Krishna qualifies it as dukkha alayam. But one should understand, here they said, the sincere student of Vedic literature, they will come to appreciate the Supreme Lord's, how he treats the conditioned souls. He doesn't really favor anybody or punishes somebody out of vengeance, some perceptions of God, the vengeful God.
Той не наказва някой, нито пък е склонен към някой специално, не наказва заради своята мъстителен Бог.
Yeah, as I said, he's nothing to lose, nothing to gain, really.
Няма какво да изгуби, някакво да спечели.
And he's very merciful. He facilitates. You want this. It's like a child. Sometimes, they insist, and then okay, take this and get lost. Basically. It's your responsibility. Then if it doesn't turn out as you thought, then don't complain. Sometimes people insist, I want this. And he said, don't take it. It's not good. Okay, and then don't complain. And as it is said here very appropriately, we may choose to oppose and forget, and I don't want to have anything to do with God, and become a pupil of some so-called philosophers. And we make all endeavors to forget him. But Krishna never forgets, and he continues to provide even those who are really demoniac with all necessities of life. Along with unseen guidance. Then because they don't know, people call it instinct or the inner voice or providence, some sixth sense. And because he always accompanies all living entities as the super soul, so at any time Krishna is just waiting when somebody in the human form of life shows the slightest interest in perfection, knowing what is what, and knowing the ultimate, or whatever in the beginning one may think, then he immediately makes arrangements so one gets the information, at least the possibility. So instead of blaming God for our situation, we should understand, if there's anybody to blame, it is me. Tathenukam pam susamikshamano. Bhujana eva kritam. It's my doing that is causing the bunjana to eat the fruits of my own activities. Yes, and sometimes fruits are very sour or bitter, especially in Kali Yuga. And very rarely you'll really get a good sweet fruit, and then it's very expensive. Unless you have your own garden and let it ripen on the tree, which generally never happens. So, but the point is that who creates the fruit? We are creating the fruit. We are sowing, a very logical expression, you reap what you sow. But anyway, the Lord doesn't abandon even the most opposed soul. Yeah, as we said the other day, there's no eternal condemnation. That's another very important aspect of the Lord's mercy, that even though it may take a long time, one way or another, he'll give some opportunity to rectify one's life and gain perfection.
Това е много важен аспект от милостта на Бога. Дори да трябва да отнеме много дълго време, никога няма да изгубим тази възможност.
Even from just a philosophical point of view, it's much more reasonable and logical than a one-time life. And then if you're lucky, you make it. And if you're unlucky, like 99%, then... Exactly.
Разбира се, трябва много по-логично да приемам, че има много животи, отколкото само един, и ако си късметлия, ще успееш, ако не, като 99%.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between you and this little fish out there? Yeah, people think they don't have a soul. Right? But we understand, no, all the souls are all from an objective point of view, they're all the same.
Ние разбираме, от обективна гледна точка всички живи същества, техната душа е еднаква.
They're not higher souls or lower souls. There are higher bodies and lower bodies, yes. But the soul, even in an insect, is exactly the same quality as the soul in the president of Bulgaria. And even, his soul is the same as the president of Russia. Believe it or not. And the soul in the body of the Russian president is exactly the same type of the American president. You may hate it, but it's true. Even the Chinese has the same type of soul. So, that's universal equal vision. Yeah.
New conception, old soul and new soul. Some so-called new age.
Yeah, they're recent.
I heard something like
old souls. A lot of experience.
Oh, yeah.
Many lives. Napoleon.
And the others, what?
Newcomers.
Newcomers.
No experience, no wise.
Well, if you look at it from the Vedic point of view, one could make some, how you say, adjustment to understand what they mean. That maybe some souls, yes, that's actually a fact. Why does somebody take easily to Krishna consciousness and somebody else doesn't? Sometimes it is explained that somebody who readily takes it, and even like a child may exhibit attraction for playing the mridanga or whatever, it may come from a previous lifetime. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita speaks about these yoga prashtas. And depending on how far a soul has advanced in yoga practice, then one advances to a certain, how you say, the next station or the next body even. Like it is said that those who take birth in India, Punya Bhumi, they are more pious or even more advanced in one sense than somebody who takes birth in a place where there's the environment is not very conducive for spiritual life.
Се казва, че те, които се раждат в Индия, наречена пунята, благочестивата земя, имат повече, са по-благочести, отколкото някой, който се роди в среда, в която няма подходящи условия за духовна практика.
So therefore Krishna says that those who are yoga brashtas, who have practiced but they didn't make it to perfection, they'll come back into special circumstances which are conducive, like Srimate Gehe or Suchinam, Brahminical type, or a very, opulent, rich family, which Prabhupada explains they always have a temple. That's the characteristic. They construct their own temple, the family where everybody goes.
И затова обяснено, че този, който е тръгнал по пътя на йога, не е завършил процеса, има възможности след това да продължи, като се родили в чисто семейство, бременско или първо богато семейство. И като казва, богаташите в Индия имат винаги храна.
Yeah, so that was of course some time ago. Nowadays it's getting less and less, like everywhere. Yeah. Before, probably, even Prabhupada says, everybody who takes birth in India, they all know about karma. They know about rebirth, transmigration of the soul. It's natural knowledge that everybody has. So that means that these souls are more advanced, and you can call them older, more experienced. And the green horns that are those who have green horns. I mean, the other ones have brown, old developed horns, and the green horns are they're just coming out. They're just. I mean, the expression comes from somewhere, no? Like you may have some animal when they're young, then just a little bit of a horn comes out, and it's not really useful. But if you're a grown-up bull, then you may have a really impressive horn that you can use. But that always has something to do with the body one accepts also. Otherwise, the soul is eternal, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, so there's no question of young and old in that sense. Aja. Unborn. So if you're like somebody is younger or older by birth date. But soul has no birthday, and therefore doesn't have a birthday party. And even if, then what's there to celebrate? You have accepted a material body, not really a glorious event. Anyway, so I generally never celebrate my birthday. But the point is this: older and younger, you can say like that, but it's depend on consciousness, development of consciousness. Okay, 2 more minutes for any more comments or questions. So interestingly, Srila Swami, he prays in this one, and I think the other one, maybe others also, he prays to Nrsingadev. Nrihari. As the Savior. Well, if we look at, Prahlad Maharaj's prayer in the 5th canto, Karma Shayan Randaya Randaya, to take away with the Vajranaka Vajradangshta Karmashaya Narandaraya Randaya, with the teeth and nails to rip out the material desires from the heart. Because this is the cause. Don't blame anybody. These karmashayans, that is the cause while you are suffering in the material world in sometimes horrific bodies.
Защото страданието в материален свят понякога в ужасяващи тела се дължи на тези желания кармаши.
Yeah, I mean some bodies are really terrifying. Huh? Look at some insects and some type of fish that devil's fish, I think. You may know it. You have seen a picture. I mean, so really, it's horrible. Yeah, you can see the face is the index of the mind. Huh? Yeah, I mean, that's the fact. Why do you develop a body, a certain type of body? It's because of the subtle body. Well, there's two things, as we saw here, deserve and desire. If not everything depends on your desire. Then everybody would be, what? A Cupid personified. Or an angel personified or whatever.
As the New Age, they say, you can choose your body.
Yeah.
You choose your body.
Continue dreaming.
Всъщност не може да си избираме делата, това получаваме това, което заслужаваме. Всеки може би да иска да се...
It's such a ridiculous philosophy. Then who would choose a body that has a birth defect and is ugly like, you know...
Кой ще си избере тяло, което е с недъзи и отвратително?
With a big nose like this and ears like that and I mean, nobody would choose a body like this. So it's all fantasy. It's just... No, you get what you deserve. Mixed with a desire. All right. Then there will be the desire, but the deserving, and then, you make a compromise. Okay, take this is the best we have to offer. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah. Yamaraj is there. He's really representative of the super soul. He knows exactly, and maybe he consults his let's see what. Okay, so we have these bodies are appropriate for this, and then it's like you go to a store, you want to buy something, and you only have 2 levers. But you want this thing that costs 200. You can have this, but you can't have that. Like a watch, you can get this Mickey Mouse watch, but not this, Yeah, right, with the diamonds on. No. Yeah. Anyway, so it's logical, no? It makes sense, common sense. So that's the whole point. But Nrsingadev, we can pray that he can help us to take out these desires, because it's not an easy business. You need some help. All right, only 2 minutes over, so good. Yeah. Well, this is definitely...
One level, what's one?
All right, more comments and questions. We still have 5 minutes according to the Vitarama time.
8 minutes behind.
It's for some reason. Generally, they do it in advance in the kitchen because the mind is not capable of actually following the clock. So you must cheat yourself that it's already like this, but you still have 5 minutes. And then you make it just on time because you think you're late, but
Actually, it's like that in the kitchen.
I know, it's not the only kitchen. I mean, and anyway, I complain because then if somebody is on time, then he's too early. Then that's not proper either. You should be on time. So, the mind is a rascal.
Oh my God.
That's now 2 minutes, 2 minutes in advance. You know?
Following the scheme.
No, because tomorrow will be at the same time.
I think you have to get another clock. Eh? This is not only Chinese, it's North Korean. Eh? Anyway, so that's it. Huh? Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sisi Gonitai Gauravani ki jai. Hare